evening, folks. Welcome, or welcome back, to Golem Telly. I am your host, the magical Mr. E. Now, all you football lovers out there are in for a treat. And not just because tonight's show is footy related, but because it's part one of a double bill. Allow me to explain. What you're looking at here is a copy of Shoot magazine dated the 29th of January 1983. And as you can see, it comes with a free Panini Football 83 sticker album and some stickers. Tonight, I'm going to look at the magazine, and then in a few days' time, I'm going to look at a complete Football 83 sticker album. Let's not waste any time. Let's head over to camera 2 right now. Let's stick this beauty under the retroscope and let's zoom in. Okay, here we go, folks. And take a look at this. Isn't it amazing? An original copy of Shoot magazine, cover dated the 29th of January 1983. Only 30p. That's cheap. But before we start taking a look at the magazine itself, let's just admire the whole package here. And this is the bit that everyone's going to be excited about. Of course, free with Shoot, the big 72-page Panini Football 83 sticker album, plus 6 free stickers. And it says here, you can start your collection of 527 stickers featuring English First and Second Divisions and Scottish Premier Division. Plus, and I love this, do you remember the illustrated laws of the game? That was a section at the back of the album that told you everything you needed to know about how to play the game, the offside rule and so on. It was brilliant. Anyway, we'll be taking a look at that in a few days' time. That's not for tonight. Tonight, we're going to focus on the magazine. And there, as you can see, is a packet of stickers. There are 6 stickers in there. That would have cost you 10p back in the day. Yeah, look, there will be 12 more free stickers next week. Then further stickers will be on sale at many newsagents at 10p for 6. I think nowadays it's something like a quid for 4. What has the world come to, folks? Okay, let's get this out of the packet, take a quick look at everything, and then we'll dive into the magazine. There's nothing on the back, so we'll just put that over there. Here's the stickers. There's the album with Ian Rush, and who's this guy playing for Manchester City on the front? Let me know in the comments. This is an empty album. Look at that. You can see the names of the players there. Graham Rix, Brian McDermott. Let's clear that out of the way. Put them over there. So here we are then. Here's the magazine itself, and you can see that much more clearly now, freed from its plastic wrapper. Who's this on the front cover? Sunderland defender Ian Munro, that's this guy, battles with comeback man Andy Ritchie of Brighton. And I remember that this was at a time when Brighton had made it to the top division. They weren't traditionally a first division club, but they were doing pretty well back in 1983. I'm pretty sure that that was the year that they got to the FA Cup final, where they lost to Man United. I'll have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure it was 1983. And obviously now, what is it, 30, 40, oh my God, 41 years on? They're doing very well again, aren't they? Thank you very much. And also on the cover, who will get Jock Stein's job? That's a really interesting article a little later on in the magazine. Steve Coppell facing the England Axe. Oh dear. Here it says Watford's Dream Machine, another club that was doing fantastically well in the early 80s. Very surprisingly, they managed to finish second in the league, just behind Liverpool. In the middle of the magazine, there is a double-page poster spread of the Watford team. The star spot here is on King Kenny this week. That's Kenny Dalglish again, for those of you who aren't in the know. And there's an article on Saints sensation Danny Wallace too, and much, much more. And here you can win a course at Alan Mullery's soccer school. There's actually a surprisingly high number of legendary footballers who you'll find in this magazine who are advertising their courses at their own soccer schools. Do they still do that nowadays? I bet they don't. So we're up and running already with a Star Spot special. This week it's Kenny Dalglish, still king of the cop, in case you were doubting him, but you shouldn't have. These guys certainly don't, and look at them. Legends, all of them. Bob Paisley, Emlyn Hughes, Phil Neal, Steve Perryman and Ron Atkinson. BFR of Manchester United at the time. I love the way they cut their heads out. That looks like something out of Viz, doesn't it? What does it say over here? With a talent worth a block of gold and a disquieting turn of phrase capable of melting one, Kenny Dalglish continues to confound those critics foolish enough to suggest that he is a spent force. Just don't do it. Liverpool's gifted Scottish international is currently producing the type of form that earned him the reputation of being one of the best players in Europe less than 18 months ago. I like the way they've worded that. Less than 18 months ago. In other words, it's actually been about a year and a half since people stopped thinking he was that good. But anyway, the debate raged on. What did Bob Paisley, the Liverpool manager at the time, have to say? Kenny is one of the greatest, if not the best Liverpool player there has ever been. I can make that comparison, having played alongside the likes of Billy Liddell, trained Roger Hunt and Ian St John, and managed sides that included Kevin Keegan. Well, he's laid out his credentials there. Hard to argue with any of that. What about Steve Perryman of Tottenham Hotspur? I've faced Kenny many times in recent years and believe he is a very difficult opponent to mark. Liverpool know how to get the best out of him because he is such an unselfish, dangerous player. I imagine he must be a marvellous player to play alongside. Now, before we get any further into this week's issue, they're already advising you to reserve next week's copy at your local newsagent. And why should you do that? Well, simple really. You get 2 more free packs of stickers. Not only that, but you'll have a preview of the FA Cup 4th round and the Scottish Cup 3rd round. There'll be part 1 of the amazing Ozzy Ardile story. I like the look of this. Forest Blaze back. Yes, please. And there's something about Alan Devonshire's England hoodoo. And here's a feature on the Fan of the Week. And the honours this week go to 21-year-old Carl St John of Hildervale Road, Farnborough, Orpington, Kent. Practically his whole address there. Who is a Charlton fanatic. Carl first went to the Valley in 1970 to see them play Aston Villa, who were eventually relegated to the 3rd Division. How the times have changed. Since then, Carl has hardly missed a game, and all being well, should record his 300th when he goes to Burnley with Charlton on February the 26th. Pretty good going there. I wonder how many games I've been to in my life. It's a lot, you know. I had a season ticket at Forest for about 25 years. That's about 15 to 20 home games a season. Throw in a few away games there as well. What's that? 20 times 25, 2 2s are 4. I've probably been to about 500 games in my life. Does that make me a super fan? I think it does. Then again, I am 51 now, so for Carl St John to have clocked up 300 games by the age of 21, that's pretty good going. Okay, so here's that report on Steve Coppell potentially facing the axe from the England team. And there, as you can see, is the still only fairly recently installed England manager Bobby Robson. Of course, his greatest success as England manager would come in 1990 when he took England all the way to the semi-final in Italy. But that's a story for another time, isn't it? Anyway, here he's got a tough decision to make. Bobby Robson could be facing the most agonising decision of his reign as England manager when he pieces together the jigsaw of players necessary to stand a chance of winning the European Championship finals in France next year. Well, I can save you a lot of time if you like now, Bobby, because unfortunately your guys aren't going to make it. We didn't qualify for the Euros in 1984, and they were indeed held in France, and France, Les Bleus, did go on to win it that year. I think that was their first trophy, wasn't it? Well, considering both the World Cup trophy and the European Cup trophy were French creations, then well, it was about time, wasn't it? Brilliant. Any thought of dropping the brilliant Manchester United winger would have been unspeakable a year ago. Coppell, who had an operation last summer on a damaged cartilage, remains a certainty for selection. But for how much longer? So we got a bit of a news roundup here. There's an article over here about Watford actually, and people were grumbling about how they weren't playing particularly attractive football, but they were very successful. If a football expert had predicted 5 years ago that little Watford would find themselves sandwiched between mighty Liverpool and Manchester United at the top of the First Division midway through the 1982-83 season, he would have been condemned as mad. At that time, Watford was scrapping with Rochdale and Crewe in the Football League's basement, the 4th Division. But manager Graham Taylor engineered one of the most rapid promotion feats of all time, steering them to promotion in 1978, promotion again from the 3rd Division to the 2nd in 1979, and from the 2nd to the 1st in 1981-82. And there they were in January 1983, lying in 2nd position in the 1st Division. Sad to report then that Watford's rivals have taken their success badly. While Watford were thumping the 3 major London clubs and smashing 4 goals past Southampton and Brighton goalkeepers, their no-nonsense tactics were heavily criticised. Even by quietly spoken Spurs boss Keith Birkinshaw. Another manager said Watford's tactics would put the game back 25 years. They're just jealous. Watford are deservedly giving chase to Liverpool. The best thing that Graham Taylor could do if Watford qualify for Europe this season is to hire a transit van, cross the channel and bring back sacks of sour grapes from France for distribution to other First Division managers. Love it. The FA here clamping down on misbehaviour on the pitch. In disgrace, the new tough measures being taken by referees to stamp out cheating have resulted in a record number of sendings off, 150 at the halfway mark. That is a lot of early baths. Wolves on the rampage, Keegan on time, those were the days. Here we've got a report on Mike England, almost certain to be staying as the Wales team manager for the rest of their European Championship campaign. And over here, that's Paolo Rossi, isn't it? As predicted by our correspondents around Europe, Paolo Rossi was named European Footballer of the Year for 1982 in the poll conducted by France Football. Well, I mean, of course, he was the top scorer at the World Cup in 1982, wasn't he? Helping Italy to win the trophy, but my goodness me, look at this top 10. What a list of greats. Paolo Rossi, of course, but then there's Alan Giresse, you've got Boniek there, Bruno Conti, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, Litbarski, Dino Zoff, Michel Platini. I mean, what a team that would make if you put all those guys together. What's this? Tommy singing in the rain. Cameroon's World Cup goalkeeper, Thomas Nkono, is proving to be the sensation of the season in Spain. But the Espanyol keeper is having problems in coping with the rigours of a European winter and reckons he's been deceived by talk of sunny Spain. On an icy, rainy afternoon in San Sebastian, Nkono responded by wearing his usual long trousers with built-in knee pads, a vest, a shirt, 2 sweaters, gloves, and a plastic anorak with a hood up. I don't blame him. I don't like being cold either. But Tommy was singing in the rain when he kept a blank score sheet against champions Real Sociedad, while at the other end, Luis Arconada was beaten twice. Oh yes, check this out. There's Ricky Hill of Luton Town and Tony Woodcock of Arsenal. No other details necessary, just 2 great footballers in their amazing 80s kits. What's this with these Arsenal socks? Red and black? I don't remember that. Maybe that's from an away match or something. I love that Luton's kit was sponsored by Bedford Trucks. That's a proper shirt sponsor, isn't it, for a football team? You know, Luton's only about 20 miles from here up the M1. And I remember I used to go to the casino in Luton quite a lot in the late 80s and early 90s. And then I didn't go for years and years. And then, for the first time in a couple of decades, I went to the casino just a few months ago in Luton. And I won 50 quid. That's not bad going, is it? Here's Steve Perryman again, with regrets this time. Spurs skipper Steve Perryman has only one disappointment, that Glenn Hoddle will sign a new contract at the end of the season when his existing one runs out. I just wish it was a 3-year contract and not a 1-year contract that Glenn was signing, said Perryman. I believe people go to football to see players with the sort of skill they'd love to have but can only dream about. Glenn has so much ability, he takes your breath away. Oh, here's a little cartoon. I wish the boss would relax. He's already eaten my magic sponge. Oh look, whose birthday is it this week? Terry Cochran of Middlesbrough, he's turning 30. Franz Tyson of Ipswich is 31. Who else you got? Kenny Swain of Forest, also 31. Happy birthday, Kenny. Oh look, here's that competition to win a coaching holiday at Alan Mullery's Soccer World. How to enter. Study the 3 questions and write your answers neatly on the entry coupon. Complete the coupon with your own name, age, address, blah, blah, blah. All right, where are the questions? So, number 1, Garth Crooks played 147 league games and scored 48 goals for which club before his transfer to Spurs? Ooh, I want to say Stoke City? Okay, what about number 2? Alan Mullery was Paul Walsh's manager at Charlton for a spell. Can you name Paul's present boss at Luton Town? Well, that would be David Pleat, wouldn't it? I bumped into David Pleat recently in Radlett, and I stopped to say hello and have a quick chat with him. And I reminded him that a long time ago, back in the 1950s I guess it would have been, he met my mum in Nottingham. And the story goes, as my mum used to tell me, that David Pleat was up a tree. He was hiding in an apple tree. And he was picking apples from the tree and throwing them at unsuspecting passers-by below. And he threw one at my mum, and it didn't hit her, thankfully, but they did start talking to each other, and they became friends, and they talked about what they wanted to do when they grew up. And my mum said to David that she'd like to be a dancer, and David said that he wanted to be a footballer, and they both went on to make their dreams come true. So I mentioned all of this to David when I spoke to him in Radlett, and he remembered all of that very well indeed. And yeah, it was a nice moment. Now, what's question number 3? Between 1969 to 1982, Tottenham skipper Steve Perryman made a club record of 516 league appearances. Steve is one of the game's most respected professionals, but has he ever played for England? Well, I know this. Yes, he played once. But that's once more than most of us have, or ever will do. So respect where it's due, I guess. Another little cartoon, this time it's Nobby. Hope it's better weather for our cup tie than last year. They postponed it 3 times. Mind you, it wasn't all bad news. It was our longest cup run for years. Okay, here's a page with some fun and games on it. There's a crossword there, the shoot crossword. Let's take a look. 18 across. That looks like Northampton Town, English 4th Division club. 21 across, Glenn Hoddle, Spurs midfielder, 6. Here's a good one. 7 down. The number of European Cup final triumphs for Nottingham Forest. 3 letters, 2. Ask the expert over here, is it true Arsenal have never played in the 2nd Division? Well, although easily the longest sitting tenants in the 1st Division, having held that status continuously since 1918, or is that 1919? Oh, my eyes. 1919, they've certainly played in the 2nd Division in bygone times. They made their Football League debut in the 2nd Division in 1893, gained promotion to the 1st in 1904, and were relegated back to the 2nd Division in 1913. Then, when the 1st Division was enlarged by 2 clubs in 1919, Arsenal were voted into one of the vacant places. They have successfully retained their 1st Division place ever since. So here's a bit of a refereeing Q&A. During a game, a dog runs onto the pitch and chases the ball. Do you A, allow the game to continue, or B, stop play and have the dog removed? Well, the answers are here, but they're upside down. Should we turn it around and have a look? Yeah, come on, let's do that. There you are, folks. There's your answer. Stop play and have the dog removed. This could cause a serious injury. I noticed that Manchester City recently had this problem at Main Road. Okay, there's another soccer academy. This time it's Bob Wilson's goalkeeping school. Would you like to be coached by Bob Wilson, the professionals coach, and meet top goalkeepers and football celebrities? You get a residential 6-day course during Easter and summer 1983 at Middlesex Polytechnic, Trent Park, Barnet, Hearts. Trent Park's nice. Now here comes the Watford section in the middle of the magazine. Watford's message to all critics: see you in Europe. And look at dear old Graham Taylor there. He's been gone a few years now, hasn't he? He was treated so unkindly by the press. Do you remember all that turnip business and the do I not like that stuff? But he was a brilliant manager and a lovely man. And of course he's better appreciated at Watford than anywhere else in the world, having taken them all the way from the 4th Division to the 1st Division in the late 70s and early 80s. What a legend. And talking of legends, check this out, that's John Barnes. Now he was only about 20 years old back then, and here he is finding the net during Watford's memorable 4-2 win at Arsenal in November, and he was living quite near here at that time. He had a flat in Marsh Lane in Stanmore, I remember that very well, and I know that because one of my best friends lived in Marsh Lane at the time. And he told me that John Barnes lived on the other side of the road. I used to spend a lot of time playing at his house on Saturdays back in the day. Sorry to go off topic a bit here, but to get it back on topic, I also have very fond memories of walking up to the shops in Stanmore with my friend in order to buy packs of España 82 stickers from the newsagent. Okay, let's check out this centre spread, shall we? Wow. How cool is that? You got some real legends there. Back row, left to right, there's Martin Patching, Keith Pritchett, Jimmy Gilligan, Steve Sherwood, Eric Steele, Richard Jobson, not the Richard Jobson from Skids, Jerry Armstrong. Now, Jerry Armstrong, what a goal scorer he was. Do you remember he got all of Northern Ireland's goals in the 1982 World Cup? 3 of them, I think it was, including that one against Spain. And there's Will Rostron. Middle row, Pat Rice, Charlie Palmer, Les Taylor, David Johnson, not the David Johnson who's Brennan Johnson's father, by the way, that's another David Johnson. Nigel Callaghan, there's John Barnes, Jan Lohman, and the legendary Luther Blissett. Front row, Ian Bolton, Paul Franklin, Steve Sims, and there's Graham Taylor, lost in the gutter there sadly. That's Kenny Jackett, there's Ross Jenkins, and that's Steve Terry. And look at that amazing 80s kit. Nice and shiny, just the way it should be. Ah, now, Brian Clough. You got to have a feature on Brian Clough in a football magazine in the 80s, haven't you? This one's been written by Colin Todd, brilliant defender who Brian Clough just made into twice the player he had been. Here we go. Brian Clough's rescue act on the respective careers of Ian Bowyer and Colin Todd proves the man really does wave a special kind of magic wand. He did indeed. Both veteran players were fading from top-class soccer until Clough called them back into the fold at Nottingham Forest, where he is successfully rebuilding a team which earned undreamed-of glories at home and in Europe. Bobby Charlton's Masterclass, another residential soccer school, this one's in Manchester. Up front with Steve Archibald, our mighty atom. And who is our mighty atom? Well, it's tiny Terry Gibson, getting a big hug from Gary Brooke after his second goal against Everton. We've been plagued with so many injuries this season, yet have managed to maintain a respectable position in the First Division thanks to the ability of the youngsters who've come through. Tottenham's 2-goal hero, 5'5" Terry Gibson, recently should have been in hospital convalescing. He was due to have a cartilage operation just after Christmas, but the surgeon was injured in a car crash. Oh my God. The operation was postponed and 20-year-old Terry came in for flu victim Garth Crooks. The lad I call the mighty atom is worried at the moment because his contract is up at the end of the season, but Terry loves Spurs and is determined to grab every opportunity to fight for his place and persuade manager Keith Birkinshaw to keep him. Well, good luck, Terry. I hope it all works out for you. Grab that opportunity with both hands. And he's grabbed Gary Brooke with both hands as well, hasn't he? Some stats for you. There's the big North London derby, Monday 27th of December 1982. And it was Arsenal who won the bragging rights on that occasion. They won 2-0 in front of a crowd of 51,500 people. Goals from Sunderland and Woodcock. And the Arsenal lineup there: Jennings, Hollins, Sansom, Talbot, O'Leary, Nicholas, Davis, Sunderland, Robson, Woodcock and Ricks. And who was on the Tottenham side that day? Clements, Houghton, O'Reilly, Mabbott, Hazard, Perryman, Roberts, Archibald, Galvin, Tony Galvin, yeah. Substituted for Brooke there. Glenn Hoddle and Garth Crooks. Well, that's a brilliant team. And there's a picture. Alan Sunderland fires the first of Arsenal's 2 goals against Spurs. Better luck next time, Spurs. So that wasn't a bad crowd, 51,500. Who had the biggest gate of the day? Well, it might have been them, actually. Oh, wait a minute, what about the smallest? That's going to be somewhere down here. Scottish first, Scottish second. 120 people. Stenhousemuir versus Forfar. 1-0 to Forfar. Oh my goodness, it would have been freezing, wouldn't it? 27th of December, 120 people. I hope they were all hugging each other to keep warm. Were you there? Were you one of the 120 that day? Let me know in the comments. So what's this? Gary Lineker, Leicester's Kevin Keegan. Look at his hair. How young he looks. He looks about 10. First Division clubs are poised to persuade Leicester City manager Gordon Milne to part with his brilliant 22-year-old striker Gary Lineker. But their chances of prizing him away from Filbert Street this season are nil, as Leicester maintain a scorching pace in their hope of gaining promotion. And are you ready for a bit of straight shooting from Jimmy Greaves? How about this? Hill's okay. I wish people would stop having a go at Jimmy Hill. He's taken Coventry from the 3rd to the 1st Division, is as patriotic as anybody, and always tries to improve football as a spectator sport. I only wish his critics had achieved half as much as Jimmy. And that's from John Neal of Jarrow, Tyne and Wear. And in response, Jimmy Greaves says, he does have a lot of critics, and he's not always gone about things in the right way, but I have great respect for his honesty. Some more colour pin-ups here. There's Gordon McQueen of Manchester United in a very acrobatic looking pose there. How does he do that? And that's Mark Higgins of Everton over here, out jumping this Watford player. Look at this, late night final. Super Soccer pyjamas and dressing gowns from £5 including P&P. You've got some Ipswich and Spurs pyjamas there to choose from, Swansea, Aston Villa. And look at this, England dressing gown and pyjamas. I'd wear them now if they did them in my size. Okay, goal game. We've got another quiz here. Number 1. Liverpool striker Ian Rush scored his 3rd hat-trick of the season in the 5-1 home win against Notts County or Nottingham Forest over the Christmas period. Well, I'll tell you right now, it wasn't Nottingham Forest, so that must have been Notts County. Number 8. Can you identify the famous international player taking on the Spurs defence? Well, yes, I can actually. That is Karl-Heinz Rummenigge. Pompey's Wurzel Gummidge scares defenders. They call him Wurzel Gummidge down on the south coast. It's not very nice, but for Scarecrow lookalike Alan Bailey, life couldn't be sweeter after a traumatic 12 months in which it seemed as if his golden touch had deserted him forever. Okay, so here's that article about Jock Stein, and it's all about the managers who are being lined up to take over from Jock Stein as the Scotland manager. The big six for Jock Stein's job. The hunt is on to find a man to succeed Jock Stein as Scotland manager before the 1986 World Cup finals. Scottish FA officials are already preparing themselves for the inevitable moment when the big man says, "Sorry, I'm retiring." Stein, Scotland's manager since October 1978 and now 60, hinted before Christmas that he would quit in the next 3 or 4 years. Well, now, sad to say, he wasn't the Scotland manager for the 1986 World Cup, but not because he retired, it's because he died. And it was after a World Cup qualifying game, actually. I can't remember who it was against, but I think that was in 1985, so only a couple of years after this article was printed. In the end, of these candidates, Brian Clough there, Billy McNeil, Jock Wallace, Andy Roxburgh, Jim McLean and Alex Ferguson. Well, yeah, it was Alex Ferguson who went on to become Scotland manager before moving to Manchester United. Getting pretty close to the end of the magazine now. There's Ray Wilkins, another one passed away way too soon. Passing. That's my strength. Even better if you can do it under pressure, as I am here shadowed by Liverpool's Mark Lawrenson. Statham for England. West Brom's plea to Bobby Robson. 1983 could be my year. Here's the article we were promised about Danny Wallace. Danny Wallace might be the shortest player in the First Division at 5 foot 4.5 inches, but he packs more skill into his small frame than many of his more experienced rivals. Warning to readers, the only way to ensure you get the 2 packets of stickers, 12 in all, given free with next week's issue is to place an order with your newsagent now. One last treat on the back cover, it's a super focus. This week it's Mark Chamberlain of Stoke City. And that's Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain's dad, isn't it? Let's see. Full name, Mark Chamberlain, okay. Birthplace, Stoke-on-Trent. Birth date, November 19th, 1961. Well, November the 19th was just a couple of days ago, so happy birthday, Mark. Favourite player, Tottenham's Glenn Hoddle. Glenn Hoddle getting a lot of love in this issue, right? Your best ever all-time 11. Banks, Carlos Alberto, Schnellinger, Beckenbauer, Facchetti, Socrates, oh my god, Maradona, Zico, Pele, Cruyff and Best. Wow, they would beat anyone. Most memorable match, Stoke's 4-4 draw with Luton earlier this season. And of course my England debut against Luxembourg. How about this stuff over here? Favourite singers, Teddy Pendergrass, Third World and George Benson, cool. Favourite actor, Clint Eastwood. Best film seen recently, An American Werewolf in London, that's a cool movie. And personal ambition to play for England again. And if not a player, what job would you do? Don't know. Well, fair enough. Appreciate the honesty there. Career after playing, hopefully to run my own business. I think he went into coaching in the end, didn't he? And I guess he spends a lot of quality time watching his sons play football too. Mark celebrates his goal after coming on as sub in the 9-0 thrashing of Luxembourg. Wow, what a great game to make your debut in. And that, of course, best England kit ever. So that's it, folks. We are done. But actually not quite, because that, as I said earlier, is just part 1 of this double bill. You just make sure that you're back here 3 or 4 days from now so that you can watch me going through my complete Panini Football 83 sticker album. Can't wait for that. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really do appreciate it. If you could like and share this video, well, that would be a classy finish. And if you could subscribe to Golem Telly if you haven't done so already, well, that might just put you in the running for the Golden Boot. I'll be back 3 or 4 days from now for a close look at this. In the meantime, please enjoy the rest of your evening, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon.
Evening shadows deepen, world around is sleeping, everyone's departed.